News 2 is your local election headquarters. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson is on the campaign trail working to shore up support to get the Republican nod for governor. At his side is Senator Mike Reichenbach of Florence as his lieutenant governor running mate. They are laying out a bold economic plan centered on eliminating the state income tax and reducing fraud, waste, and abuse across all levels of government. The Wilson-Reichenbach team is also emphasizing public safety, law and order, and a stable community as core priorities of their campaign. Now, we created questions for the candidates based on information from the Senate Medical Affairs Committee poll last summer of likely Republican voters. The top 5 issues are taxes, the economy, government waste and corruption, public safety, and infrastructure. So we welcome the candidates to this studio, and now let's get to the questions. Glad you both could be here.
Thank you.
So one of the most important issues that you've been examining while on the campaign trail is the desire to eliminate the South Carolina income tax. How would that look if you were to do that?
Well, first off, you look at the entire country, and especially the Southeast, Texas, Florida, Tennessee have already done it. You have other 5 states in the Southeast that have already passed laws to go to a 0% income tax. You got Texas, you have Alabama at a flat rate of 5%, and Texas and North Carolina are 2 points below us on the income tax rate. You have to go to Oregon or New Jersey to find an income tax higher than South Carolina. We are the highest in the region. This is the fastest growing region in the country, economically speaking, and South Carolina needs to be able to compete not just regionally, but globally. So we have to do that by lowering that income tax to 0. What you do is by cutting government spending to the rate of population over a 10-year period, you could return over $20 billion back to the taxpayers in permanent tax cuts. And I think that would bring new investments into our state, and it would allow families who are having to make tough decisions on whether to pay the electric bill or buy medicine, allow them to have more money in their pockets.
That's something we'll talk about because, of course, we've all noticed that this year when it comes to family making adjustments in their budgets. But you talk about a timeline of 10 years. So what might we see incrementally over that time period if you were to be successful?
First off, eliminating the income tax can't be done overnight. It just can't be. 36%, I believe, of all of our revenue comes from the income tax. And if you cut it one day and you don't have anything to replace it, then you don't have a way to fund basic government functions. So it has to be done with revenue triggers each year. Basically, you cap the rate of state government spending, which is 3.1% higher than the rate of population growth. If you cap government spending to the rate of population growth, you can return that money in permanent tax cuts over a period of time, which allows us to maintain government priorities, public safety, for instance, infrastructure, things like that. But it has to be done gradually, and that's what we're going to do. But once you pass the law, you have sent a signal to people all over South Carolina and all over America that South Carolina is open for business.
And to A.G. Wilson's point, though, I was going to say...
Well, I was going to ask you, we talk about some of the essentials because immediately when we think of state income tax, we think of paying for those essentials. How would we fund those kinds of things, education, public safety, if we did not have that safeguard in place from state income taxes?
No, absolutely. Well, that's why a comprehensive tax reform plan needs to be considered. I'm an accountant, undergrad in corporate finance for so many years before my wife and I started buying dealerships. And what we hear from our constituents as a senator is that there's a desire for a total comprehensive reform plan for taxes because property taxes, almost 2 out of 3 of our constituents want to have a conversation about income tax reduction is great, but our property taxes should also be considered.
We want to also make sure that we are going down that list because these are the issues that candidates, or rather constituents, said that they wanted to address. And one of those issues was the economy. Mr. Wilson, you brought up the issue of how people have had to tighten their budgets most recently, and this was because of federal policy. So I'm curious, if federal policy were to change and impact families directly, how would you safeguard and protect South Carolinians when they are having to make big changes in the way that they live and support their family because of things that happen at the federal level?
Well, look, we can't control what happens at the federal level. We can only react to it here in South Carolina. And again, going back to what Mike said, and what you asked me this question a minute ago, when you let people keep more of their money by lowering income taxes down to 0, they're not putting it in their mattress, they're not burying it in the yard, they're buying things, they're consuming things, they're reinvesting in things, they're growing their businesses. That is where that revenue comes from. It comes from other sources. Another thing is we have a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse. Last summer, we uncovered $20 million in Medicaid fraud that had been going on for 5 years. Fraud in government is an invisible tax on South Carolina citizens. You all paid a $20 million tax bill and you didn't even realize it because it was being defrauded. So you gotta lock that down. You've got to create an expanded Office of the Inspector General. You got to be proactive in rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse. And when you deter it or stop it, then all of a sudden that money goes to its intended purposes, and then you don't have to raise taxes. You don't have to pull from those revenue sources anymore.
Senator, I know one of the other issues that you wanted to think about is public safety. How do you ensure public safety, make sure that officers are trained so that they can deal with issues such as people who might be having a mental health crisis? What would you do to make sure that everyone is safe at every level?
That's a great question because it goes directly to a core function of government. The wins in economic development, healthcare, infrastructure, those are all important, but if people don't feel safe, those other wins aren't nearly as significant. So from a public safety perspective, training has got to be paramount. We have to make sure that our officers, when they respond to calls, that they're trained to handle what they're being responded to. Our mental health crisis across this state, and frankly across the nation, is such that the same response that you'd have to an armed intruder could be different when you have a situation where there's a mental health issue there. And we've got law enforcement who they want to do the best job possible to keep people safe, but the communication from the standpoint of mental health, how to address those needs, and make sure our academy is prepared to train officers. And we do such a good job. I'm a 20-year sworn law enforcement officer, Class 3, both SLED and DNR. But we have to know what is going on in especially the minds of young people when we're responding to calls.
Well, we are out of time. I apologize. We had a lot more questions, issues regarding infrastructure as well as education in this state, but we are out of time. Hope to have you back again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson, as well as Senator Reichenbach. All right, thank you. Stay with us. We are coming right back with more of News 2 at 4.